Welcome to Strange Paranormal Podcast. I'm Jason Kupzyk, and that's
Shane Coffey.
so. How's it going, Shane? This is our first episode. You excited?
I'm excited. Pretty good. How are you doing, my man?
Doing all right. Just another day.
It's
I'm
early
excited.
for us. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I'm excited to get this show going.
I'm really excited to get this show going.
For those that were subscribed to this podcast audio stream before, and you're wondering where we came from, this is formerly the Ectoplasm Show, and we rebranded it. So that is why you are already subscribed, and I hope you stick around because we have a lot of content coming.
Heck yeah. So for my very first story, I'm actually going to share a personal account. That way you guys kind of get to know me, where I come from, and a little bit about why I love the paranormal so much. Okay, so for my story, I'm going to share a personal account because I want to share with you guys a little bit about kind of where I come from and why I love the paranormal, why I find it so intriguing. So many of us know, and many of us in the US are aware of a show called The Simpsons. Well, in my area, The Simpsons used to come on Sundays at 7 o'clock. And it kind of sets the platform for you a little bit. So here I am, just a young buck laying on the floor watching cartoons. It was Sunday, 7 o'clock, Simpsons were on. My mom was in the kitchen doing dishes, and my back was to the front door of our house. So I was laying there watching TV, and I felt this cold wind hit my back. And I turned on my side and I looked up. And when I looked up, I saw the door opening the rest of the way. A man comes into the house, steps over me. And when he steps over me, I feel just the cold air from the outdoors just coming off of his body onto me. So he steps over me and he walks past my mom. And right to my mom's left is a sliding door. Opens up that door and he goes out. My mom, of course, like any mother, freaks out, runs over, grabs me, and runs down the hallway to the very back bedroom. Grabs my brother also on the way to the bedroom. And my brother, of course, being Mr. Protector, brings his BB gun because he's going to protect us. So we are behind my parents' bed, and my mom calls the police. Police come. Of course, it was cold. There was snow on the ground. Police come. They don't see anything. They don't see any footsteps or any footprints on the back patio, and they leave. Of course, they took the report and they left. And they kind of acted like my mom was a little bit crazy. But I'm telling you, I felt the wind come off of this man. I can tell you what he was wearing. He was wearing a dark blue denim jeans, a blue denim button-up shirt, and he had just this big, straggly black beard and crazy curly, like brownish black hair. He didn't look at me, he just looked over me as he walked past. So, in my mind's eye, I want to say that it's the next week, but it's probably not. It's probably closer to like 2 or 3 weeks. But when you're a child, your memory just kind of slams everything together. So we'll go with a short time after this occurrence. Same situation, like clockwork. I'm laying on the floor, I'm watching The Simpsons. My mom is in the kitchen at the sink doing dishes. And I look over at her because I hear a dish drop. And I just look over at her, and she's staring directly out the window in front of her. Well, I was able to see what she was looking at, and there was that man's face staring right in the window at my mom. Once again, grabs me, grabs my brother. We go into the bedroom. She calls the police again. The police show up, and they took another report, acted like we were crazy. They went outside and they were just kind of joking that we were seeing things. And the biggest reason why is that back window sits about 8 feet off of the ground. There were no footsteps. There was nobody trying to climb the wall or climb the side of the house. I can't explain it except I saw the man looking back at my mom. Uh, that house had a lot of energies in it. I wasn't aware at the time, but it wasn't long after that that we had moved. And when we moved, um, I was just young. I was excited to be moving. So we had bought a house out in the country, and it was funny because my dad had come home and he was like, "Well, hey, we're moving." Um, so I had a really crazy incident in that home, and it was almost immediately after that that we moved. I'm going to share the incident with you, and then I'm going to share why we ended up moving, unbeknownst to me, which I had just recently found out within like the last 3 years. So we woke up. We woke up late for school in the morning, and my mom came in and told me, "Hey, I was in elementary school. My brother was in junior high. My mom says, "Hey, since your brother starts school earlier than you, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take your brother to school first. And that way, when I come back to get you, you guys will be about the same amount of lateness." So my mom and my brother leave. I hear her car go down the driveway and take off. I'm in my bedroom. I'm putting on my striped turtleneck shirt, and I have my head just about ready to come through when I hear the front door open into the house. Now, most of you will understand this. When you're a child, you know every single noise in your home. You know the sound every specific door makes, from the way the latch might make a specific noise, or the way that the medicine cabinets open up and you can hear the magnets clicking or drawers sliding. You just know these sounds. So while I was pulling my shirt on, I heard the front door open up. And then I heard the entertainment center um, cabinets opening. I thought that was weird. I was like, I don't know what my mom's doing. And then I heard the kitchen cabinets opening up, and like she was rummaging for something, and we didn't have a dishwasher. So there's no dishwasher. Like, you didn't hear that noise. Um, and then I heard the linen closet open up. And then I heard the bathroom medicine cabinet and drawers open up. I'm like, what's my mom doing? So I poke my head the rest of the way through and I say, "Mom?" And as soon as I did, boom, every freaking door and cabinet slammed shut at the same time. Scared the crap out of me. Of course, as a kid, I jump over the other side of my bed, in between my bed and my wall, and I climb underneath my bed, and I'm just like laying underneath the bed. Well, I don't know what's going on. I'm not hearing any noise, nothing. Only thing I can do is I can hear my heart pounding in my freaking chest through my ears under the bed. I'm looking underneath my bed, like trying not to look too much in case I might see something. Nothing, no noise. And then I hear my mom's car pulling up the driveway. I hear the door open up. I hear her keys jiggle. I hear the door close. I hear her walking up the steps. I hear her open up the door, and then she says my name. And I come out of my bedroom and I tell her what had happened. And she just looked at me like it wasn't the misbelieving of a parent to a child. She was like, "Okay." And I didn't have to go to school that day, which was crazy. Um, but I recently found out, from my father, because I was talking to him about that house, and I'd asked him if he'd had anything happen to him in that house, because I had found out that my sister had had some stuff happen in the home as well. And uh, my dad just looked at me and he was like, "Yeah." He's like, "So, what did your sister have happen?" Because my sister was at the time 17, 17 years old, and she just moved out. She had the whole downstairs and she just moved out, and we didn't know why. She just moved out. So when I talked to my sister about it, she was in the house by herself doing laundry, uh, and she was putting some of the linens away in the upstairs. So she had the basket in her arms, came upstairs, was putting linen away in the closet when she heard like this growling noise coming from the downstairs where she just left. So she stood at the top of the stairs and she peered in a little bit further and she heard a growling, but this time she heard her name. Now, it's easy to think like a creak in a floorboard or a car going by with some noise or whatever it may be would make kind of a growl or a noise and it could be confused for your name. But see, my sister's name is Tuesday. It's not a name that you're going to easily confuse with a moan or a groan of a house or the wind or something like that. So it scared her so much that she moved out right away. So this goes back to my dad. And I was talking to him, and he's like, "Well, yeah, I had stuff happen. In fact, we ended up buying another house before that house was sold. And the biggest thing was my dad was sleeping, and in the middle of the night, he woke up. When he woke up, there was a woman sitting at the foot of his bed. Not my mom, just an elderly woman sitting at the end of the bed. He said she stood up, she turned around, she walked towards him, and then she reached out towards him, and he jumped up and turned the light on. And when he turned the light on, she was gone. He said that was why we moved because he had heard things in the house, but he had never actually witnessed anything. And when he witnessed that, uh, scared the shit out of him. We sold the
Sure.
house.
Yeah.
So many years later, I'm an adult. I buy a house. Buy this house, super excited, bring the kids home. Wife and I bring the kids to see the house for the first time as a surprise. And our oldest son, who's now 24, soon as we open up the door, he just like takes off running through the house and he goes to the top of the steps and he's giggling and he runs downstairs. And I'm like, What's he doing? Like he's never been in this house yet." So I follow him. He goes all the way to the downstairs and uh goes downstairs past the downstairs living room. And he's standing there behind the water heater. So I find him standing behind the water heater. I'm like, "What are you doing, man?" And he's like, "Well, this boy wanted to play and he ran down here and he just disappeared." And now when I speak to him about it, he laughs because he told me, "I didn't realize that it was strange to chase this kid downstairs when it happened." He goes, it felt like we were friends, we were buddies. He wanted me to play with him, and I just took off after him. And it didn't hit until I rounded the corner behind the water heater and he was gone. That maybe I shouldn't have followed this child down here, this boy down here. So my wife would go into the laundry room, which was down there, just one room next to where that water heater was, and she would do laundry. And occasionally she'd run into these incidents where after she started laundry, she would come down to check the dryer and the washing machine the lid would be open. But the clothes had already started to wash. The lid was just open, like somebody came home, opened up the washer, didn't close it. Washing machine's not going to open up on its own, especially those old school washing machines like that. And it would happen time and time again. And this is when our youngest two were infants. Before they were born, actually, it started happening all the way up through infancy into toddlerhood. But what she would do is she would finally say, "Okay," affectionately, we called them the ghost boy because with the incident with our son,
Sure.
we knew as a boy. So my wife would be like, "All right, that's enough. Knock it off. I'm not playing games. This isn't funny." And so it would stop for a couple weeks, and then it would pick up again. Then it would stop. And So finally, we decided that we were going to do a paranormal investigation of the home after, and I had told you about this, Jason. M- My wife went to go kiss the kids goodnight, and she went into the bedroom. And at the time, they shared a bedroom. They were just little guys, so they had bunk beds. And she kissed one kid, and then she bent down into Dorian's bed and gave him a kiss. And then she walked directly from the bedroom to our bedroom. And when she got into bed, Dorian, who she just kissed, was laying in bed with me. So she
Mm.
doesn't know who she kissed.
Yeah.
Um, so we did an investigation, and I had an audio which unfortunately is corrupt now because it was so many years ago. But we did an EVP session, and in the EVP session, we were asking, are you a man? Are you a woman? Are you a girl? Are you a boy? And then we wanted to mix it up because we thought, well, this entity, this child is kind of a trickster and a game player. Um, so I asked, are you a girl or a man? And in a child's voice, it said man, or said, I'm a man. We're like, whoa, okay. That was good. Like we heard it, we all heard it, but then when we did the EVP, we definitely heard it clear as day. So um we started doing research because we thought, well, what if it was a another child? What if there's more than one children? What if there are
Mhm.
children in this home? Or maybe it's not the home, maybe it's the property. Um, the kids had these night vision goggles and they were running around the house. And this was when our now 23-year-old was probably 10, maybe a little older, maybe 14. You in that dynamic there. Well, he was with our one of our other middle children. We have 4 children. So he was with one of the other middle children, and they were in the closet playing with these night vision goggles on. And when he put them on, he saw a kid standing in front of him. Well, he thought it was his brother until his brother walked up behind him. So at that time, it had happened. Everybody in the house had had some type of an experience. So I started doing some research. Well, I found out back, in 1943, I believe it was, in our where we lived, that property, there was a water tower that used to stand there. It was called the Grace Street Water Tower. Well, it had fallen, and when the water tower had fallen, it had actually ended up killing a child, a little girl, and an infant. Um, a mother had put her child to bed, went over next door to talk to the mom, to the other mother, while her child was, I think, napping as well. And when the water tower burst, and it basically fell, and water went everywhere, because of structural integrity is what it ended up being. The water and everything whooshed the women from the kitchen of one house into the basement of the other house. Is where they ended up. And they rebuilt the homes. Unfortunately, due to the deaths, obviously those women didn't stay there anymore. But they rebuilt the homes. Well, when I purchased my house, my neighbor wasn't sure why she kept finding glass shards all the time in her yard,
Mhm.
and she was a very spiritual woman, and so she always said that there's something around her property, she doesn't know what it is, and there's this glass, so she thinks that there was something there, but she'd never done any research. Well, I finally found out what had happened. It was the whole incident of these houses being destroyed, but this is back in the 1940s, right? And I bought this house
Yeah.
in 2004. So at any rate, um the reason why I share these two stories together is because the house that I purchased ended up being attached to the same woodland that my other childhood home was attached to. And I didn't even know that until I was out on my bicycle one day riding the back roads and I came upon my old childhood home and I was like, "Oh my gosh, these the woods connected the houses together." So where I live in Council Bluffs, Iowa. We have bluffs, we have hills, and houses are built sporadically around the hills, especially up in that area where I used to live. So my house set up here on top of a hill. The other house that I lived in was just opposite over here, and there was just a road, woods, a road, and then the other house that went to the other house's backyard. Crazy how close they were,
Mhm.
growing up, especially having so many things that had happened in those homes. And I'd like to think that it has something to do with maybe the land that's in that area. You know, it's hard to say, but there was a lot of activity that had happened in there. So from a young age, when those things had happened to me, and clearly we'll discuss as the show goes on other things that have happened. Heck, that's even happened, with you and I, Jason. But
Yeah.
as we share, you'll understand why I have such a deep love for these things because I part of my childhood growing up.
Yeah, that's a lot to go through as a child. I didn't have my first ghost experience, so to speak, until I was in my 20s. My all
Really?
my young childhood experiences were all UFOs. We'll get into those later. So this next story is a listener submitted story. You can submit your own story to thestrangeparanormal@gmail.com and we will read it on the air. You could also call in to 913-535-6322, which is a new number. The old number for Ectoplasm Show is no longer available. But if you call in with this number, you can leave a voicemail telling your story or anything else you want, and we'll play it on the show too, as long as it's friendly, so to speak. Here is that submitted story. I'm a believer. My ghost story. Growing up in the 1970s, my parents hired a maid. This was common. Black women took the bus to the suburbs, donning white maid uniforms to work for upper middle class white families. Becky had been with us since the early 1960s. She worked for my grandparents too. I often saw my grandfather waiting for Becky at the bus stop as I rode to school. Becky was truly part of our family. She worked for my grandparents 2 days a week and for us 2 days a week. I was a bit jealous of her third family, though I didn't know them. But Becky felt like she belonged to me. My name is Rebecca, but I'm always called Rebecca to avoid confusion with our Becky. She was a kind soul. Becky always left candy under our pillows, cleaned our rooms, and neatly stacked any coins or bills she found in our clothes. At Christmas, she gave us gifts. She was sweet and thoughtful, truly loving us. During vacations, Becky and her adult nieces, Linda and Sylvia, babysat us. One day, my mother took us to Becky's apartment downtown. It was nice in a safe building. She lived on a high floor. What struck me was that she had every school photo of me and my sisters framed on her wall. We were truly her family. When my parents separated when I was 14, Becky comforted my despondent mother. It was hard for her, as she had been through a similar experience with her husband when her husband left her. Becky became our rock, keeping our home running twice a week. Then tragedy struck in 1980. We returned from summer camp to find Becky had passed away from a stroke. She died in our home, a place she spent more time than with her real family. We weren't allowed to see her in the hospital, but we felt like family. My mother started going out trying to meet men. I had to babysit my little sister every weekend. While alone, I heard noises upstairs. I told my mother, but she didn't believe me. One night, when my father was visiting, we heard a weird wailing. Dad investigated the attic but found nothing. After they split up for good, I still heard footsteps when alone in the house. Years later, when I moved back in with my mother after separating from my husband, my boyfriend heard footsteps. I believed it was Becky watching over us. One evening, my boyfriend saw a woman in a pink sweater, just like Becky used to wear. My mother finally believed me. At Becky's funeral, my father, grandmother, and sisters attended, but my mother didn't. Everyone there thought I was named after Becky, though I was actually named after a character from Tom Sawyer. But letting them believe it made them happy. They told me how much Becky loved us. It was nice to hear. So there's that submitted
Imagine
story.
imagine that, man. Imagine seeing or somebody, who never met this person. Imagine them seeing and describing to you in detail what this person looked like who walked by them.
Yeah.
They've never met him, but like to it, that's crazy.
Yeah. That's a great submitted story. If, like I said before this, if you have a submitted story you'd like us to read on the air, just email us or call it in. All right, so welcome to Strange Paranormal Podcast, formerly Ectoplasm Show. Josh, how does it feel to be back?
Good. How the fuck
Yeah.
are you guys?
Doing great.
Good.
Yeah.
Another fun day.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Another day in paradise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're actually putting this in the beginning of the first episode of Strange Paranormal Podcast, and I wanted to bring Josh on since he was part of Ectoplasm Show. Actually, he was the Ectoplasm Show. And
just for a bit,
yeah,
for
a long time, like 10 years almost.
That is so crazy to even say. Don't ever say that again.
We haven't talked in a while, so how you been?
Dude, not bad.
I mean, we've caught up a little bit, but we haven't
Yeah.
publicly talked in a while.
No, I mean, like, keeping busy and all that fun jazz. But yeah, doing good.
Did you you told me last time I talked to you on the phone that you were going to start keeping bees. Have you started that?
So yes, I guess so. Like yesterday, we got the land. And so the land is now, we have access to that. And then I think it's April 6th. I have to go and pick up the bees. So I have to go get them. And then yeah, it's we're off and rolling. We have all the equipment, everything. So we're going to start kind of clearing out the parts of the land that we're going to use, start setting up all the equipment, and then just install the bees and hopefully just let nature take its course,
Sounds interesting.
Oh my God, man. That's all I've been doing is like reading things about like honeybees and all of this weird shit. And that's literally all I've been doing. I'm driving my wife absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Because that's all I'm talking about. So yeah, don't get me started.
Well, let's go into a little paranormal stuff instead. Then, so so your YouTube channel, that's basically what you're doing nowadays, right? At least publicly.
Yeah, that's like the only access to the outside world that I care to have.
Yeah.
Right now is that's it.
So what is that YouTube channel?
I think it's just Josh Hurd 1981, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put a link in the show notes, but you got any plans for that, or are you just keeping it going as it's going now? Or
for now, it's going to keep going as it's going, and just keep doing what I'm doing with that. I mean, before it was very like, oh, something spooky's happening. I'm just going to grab the camera and run after it and go, which, to be fair, I guess I still do on occasion, but I really wanted to try to like produce more. You know what I mean? It's like, oh, have a set schedule of something that we want to do. It's like, oh, like I'm going to investigate the attic specifically, or I'm going to investigate this room specifically and make an episode like out of that. And so doing like, the cutaway OTFs and all of that stuff where it's like you're just sitting there and talking about what just happened. And I don't know. But yeah, It's giving me something to do other than honeybees. But yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. So let's talk about the manor a little bit. How's the manor going? You're
Dude,
there all the time. Are you getting sick of it yet?
no. I
No?
surprisingly no.
Good.
Like it's amazing to me. Like I freaking love this building. I love the history of this place. I enjoy digging up history. Um and it seems like we're always on that path of uncovering more and more. So it's cool. It's a lot of fun. Um I mean, for whatever reason, this year has been, or I guess this winter has been unseasonably warm and fairly mild, really. So we've also had a lot of people that have kind of taken advantage of that. So I mean, we've been busier than normal. I will say that. So that's I guess a good problem to have.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Report on government interest in UFOs finds no evidence of aliens or recovered ET craft.
Lame.
An extensive Pentagon report looking at the government's interest in investigations into UFOs since 1945 found no evidence of alien visitation nor the recovery and reverse engineering of downed ET craft. Conducted by the All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, or AARO, the exhaustive effort revisits all of the various official programs aimed at studying the phenomenon up until 2023.
Hmm.
The study also investigated various claims of clandestine UFO projects or evidence secretly being conducted or held by the US government or private companies as recounted by specific witnesses. They specifically indicated that since 1945, there is no evidence that any USG investigation, academic sponsored research, or official review panel has confirmed that any sighting of a UAP represented extraterrestrial technology. AARO also unambiguously concluded that there is no empirical evidence to back up assertions that the government or private companies have been reverse engineering extraterrestrial technology. It detailed a staggering 22 different official programs or studies centered around UFOs since 1945, as well as around half a dozen similar international efforts, and noted that none of these investigations concluded that UFOs were alien in nature. With regard to witnesses claiming to have knowledge of secret projects involving extraterrestrial technology or incidents that have been covered up by the government, AARO indicated that they interviewed 30, individuals that such stories and investigated their accounts. However, they ultimately found that to be without merit due to misinterpretations of then classified military projects or secondhand sources who, when questioned, denied these claims. AARO ultimately ended their report by stressing the same conclusion they have been putting forward for the past several years, which is that they have found no evidence that UFOs are extraterrestrial and that most unsolved cases could, quote, be identified and resolved as ordinary objects or phenomenon.
Hmm.
Yep.
Ordinary objects or phenomenon. So it can be explained by being ordinary or unexplainable.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is totally ordinary.
So
Totally ordinary, or I can't explain it.
Right.
this is so this is the government asking the government to investigate itself. This is like if I was pulled over for speeding and the police officer asked me if I was speeding and then took my word for it.
It's like, no, I was not speeding. In fact,
I think you sped up to catch me, actually.
the cop's like, you know what? I think you're right.
My investigation concluded that you are wrong, sir.
My
That's right.
investigation concluded.
Okay, so the government releases documentation of said accounts from 1945 and up. And then the government goes and investigates another branch of itself. So my left hand is going to walk across my chest and go to my right hand and be like,
Yeah.
what are you doing?
I don't like the way you hold that fork, sir. It's like, it's weird though.
With all of the recent UFO news regarding official government sources, this is clearly an attempt to make it so that it's the same reason they changed it to UAP, right, instead of UFO, because UFO has an alien connotation to it
Yeah.
because of the history of the term. So now are they building towards, well, next month they'll tell us that it's, you know, Putin's aircraft flying around,
Yeah.
and this is what we have to do. Is this just trying to add to the narrative of big bad scary people out there we need to protect ourselves from? Other than that, it's either that or just it's a government organization that is tasked to waste our money to investigate UFOs, but not given the clearance to actually investigate it,
That's
or
fair.
they're told you got to come to this conclusion.
Well, and like you kind of mentioned in there too, the people that they talked to, which was like 30 people, they were able to kind of like, I guess, debunk their claims. Not that they didn't have an experience of some sort. They were witnessing something, but then they were also able to be like, oh, well, that was actually this, and that was actually this project, and this project, and this mission, or this whatever, right? This training flight or test flight or what have you. They were able to explain all of that away, which is also fairly convenient, in my opinion, as well.
Sure, and
Well,
they
I mean,
didn't really go into detail about that.
like
Like,
specifics, right? Exactly.
it was it a were the what they found as an explanation for what these people saw in a government report,
Yeah.
was that us, or was it just that they found that they were misinterpreting what they saw?
Oh well, maybe that's it too.
But yeah, what it boils down to is this just is the government investigating itself
Hmm.
and limiting
So
itself for probably
was
for a reason.
Yeah.
wasn't there the other side of that where they said there was no no proof of reverse engineering found as
They did
well?
say
Like
that.
Yeah.
yeah, there was no proof of reverse engineering found. So okay, so there's no proof of that. Let's look at the leap in technology, Jason. I mean, you know this probably better than any of us. Like the leap in technology from like span, from
Mhm.
span to span, time frame to time frame. Is it because we had something that we're like, oh, we can harness this and make it even better, or was there assistance? Was there help? Did we really make all these leaps and bounds? Because if you ask me, man, I look at Star Trek, right? I'm going Star Trek.
Hmm.
Come on.
I would
They had
say that
iPads. They had iPads
yeah.
before we had iPads.
True.
I would say that that's not proof. It's an
True.
argument that could be made. Um, but that's also they purposefully compartmentalize everything
Yeah.
so that one group doesn't know what the other group is doing.
Yeah.
If there is, let's just even say that they don't know where it came from, but if there's a
Mhm.
craft that they find and no clue where it came from, they could make the assumption it doesn't come from Earth. But why would, as a scientist or whoever was actually an engineer, reverse engineering that, you don't want to make any assumptions about where it came from because that would limit your research into it. But let's say they find a craft they don't know where it came from, which has definitely happened, even if it's just from some other country. They're
Mhm.
not going to put out there, one, that they found it, or two, that they're working on it, because they don't want to know if it is from this planet. They don't want to let them know that they have it. So it absolutely has happened where they found a craft and they're working on reverse engineering it. It's
Yes.
kind of ignorant in my mind to think that they didn't. They haven't done that, whether it's alien or not.
Well, I mean, just look at like, was it Bob Lazar? Was that gentleman's name? I mean,
Yeah,
that's all he did. I mean, that's his entire story. His entire claim to fame rests upon reverse engineering at wherever the fuck he was, Groom Lake, whatever that was over in Area 51, that area.
Well, it's very easy for them to say that there's no proof of it
Sure.
because let's say it did come from an alien. How can you have proof of that other than maybe there's an alien there telling you? Maybe it's a survived alien is telling them.
I mean, all
But
it
other
really
than that, if they just find something, they can assume it comes from outer space, but they wouldn't have proof of that.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, or you
Fair.
could just be like, I mean, you could just kind of put that political spin on it, right? So you're basically answering the question without answering the question in a lot of ways. So it's like, oh yeah, well, there's no proof of that. Yeah, there's no proof of that, not publicly, because nobody's ever come out with anything like that. So you're right. There is no proof of that. You're absolutely right. However, sitting in this bunker or in this lab or what have you, there's more than ample proof, right?
Bob Lazar was in S4.
Oh, is that it? So yeah. So I'm like,
Yeah,
and that
S4.
guy has a like fascinating story. It really is, truly. If you believe him, I have no idea like what to believe or what not to believe, but I mean, it is what it is, I suppose.
With something like this, I question more about why they're doing this now and why they're coming to this conclusion and releasing it out there than the actual study or whatever the report that they did is based on UFOs or not. There's we know they don't do anything without a reason. This isn't, in my opinion, actually about UFOs. It's about something else. They want this out there for a reason. And why do it again? Because this isn't the first time. It's like they're repeating themselves every 20 years.
True.
Yeah, I don't know.
But what do you think, Jason, is the end game then? Because I mean, like you're saying, they're literally putting the cart before the horse. They're debunking before there's anything to debunk. I mean, they're already getting the word out there. So about every 20 years.
I don't know what the end game could be. I mean, it could be. I mean, if you boil it down to what does any government want, is they nowadays, anyways, for the most part, the people that run any government around the world, even they want more control and more power.
Sure.
And I don't see them doing anything other than something that they feel will eventually gain them more of that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Fair. I got to share this thing about the gas. I'll go because this to me is funny. And I also think that it really strikes a good conversation because, come on, this is ridiculous. So a woman in Lincoln exploits a pump glitch to get over $27,000 of free gas.
Whoa.
So Don Thompson, 45 years old, allegedly of Lincoln, Nebraska, allegedly pumped an estimated 7,413 gallons of gas at a pump and pantry station over a 6-month period. Like, I don't know if we're proud of her.
That's what's up. I mean, you found a hole in the system, and now you have taken advantage of that.
She clearly got caught, though.
Oh, she got caught for sure. Like, right?
Well, she got caught, but it's like a fountain of youth here. It's like
yes.
Lincoln, Nebraska, a gas station in Lincoln has fixed a glitch that allowed someone to pump thousands of gallons of fuel for free. Don Thompson, 45, is charged with 1 count of theft by unlawful taking, $5,000 or $5,000 plus. Police said she used an exploit to pump free gas for more than 6 months. Lincoln police got a call from Bosselman Enterprises loss prevention manager on October 20th, 2023. The manager got word that the pump and pantry near West O Street and Sun Valley Boulevard, somebody had been participating in a fuel scam. Upon further investigation, the police learned that the fuel pumps received a software update in November of 2022, and the update managed orders and reward cards. It was made at the request of customers and staff. Unbeknownst to the company, however, the update was exploitable. It allowed anyone to swipe a reward card twice to enter the pump into a demo mode. And from there, the user could pump gas for free. The loss prevention manager discovered one particular card had been repeatedly used to get free gas. By tracing the card's information, the police were able to identify Thompson. Court records show video surveillance showed Thompson pumping fuel into her vehicle on multiple occasions. Police think that the fuel was stolen between November 13th, 2022 and June 1st, 2023. In those months, the reward card was used 510 times. It was also used multiple times on the days to get used. The day it was used. Police wrote that it estimated 7,413.59 gallons of gasoline were pumped during those uses. The manager estimated an average fuel cost between those months of approximately $3.75 per gallon, and bringing total losses to $27,860.27. Court records show that the reward card was also accrued minimal reward points because it wasn't being used in the intended manner. Police also learned that another person using the card in 2023, so there's somebody else. The woman was contacted by police officers. She claimed that Thompson would let her use the card to get the discounted fuel. The arrangement was that the woman would pay Thompson for using the card, according to the arrest affidavit. In total, police think the woman paid Thompson $500 for $700 worth of fuel. Between 10 uses, the woman also said that Thompson sold the card sometime in June 2023. The fuel exploit was fixed in June 21st, 2023, police wrote. Police said that Thompson received a card in lieu of payment from a man paying off a car debt. The man could not be contacted because he was deceased as of January 2024. Dang. Thompson was arrested on March 6th after a month-long investigation. She was arraigned on Thursday, and she was not listed on the Lancaster County Jail's inmate roster as of Friday. Her bond was set at 10%, so $7,500. Thompson's next court hearing is April 11th.
She's so screwed.
She's so screwed, but I have to be reasonable. Like, let's, if you had that card,
yeah, I'm using that card.
Getting your fuel for free.
I'm using that card.
There's a difference though, because you're not just using that card. No way did one person do that. You're giving that card. You're using it for everybody, that your friends and all
that whole family is down.
Exactly, and they're all
Grandma. You want to fuel up your car, Grandma? I know you only drive it once a month, but hey, this is discounted fuel.
It was super funny. Like way back in the day, my wife and I had got an apartment in Omaha, and it sucked. I hated this place. It was like the party place. You know what I mean? So it's like young people basically it was just ridiculous. It was like college all over again, right? But you had this card that you had to have on you, and it basically just had a little chip in it or whatever, but that's how you like did laundry. And so you would preload money onto the card, use the card at the washing machines and the dryers and all that bullshit. But there was a way that you could put in $1, and then I don't even remember exactly how we did this, but there was a specific way that I figured out that you could just basically put $100 on there and only actually insert $1 bill. We never paid for laundry other than the few dollars that I actually put into this thing. So I don't know. I don't know. But I totally
were
did
you
that.
Letting all your neighbors and friends and family?
It was my neighbors that told me about it. It was my neighbors that told me, because there was a bar in this apartment complex, and that was like the talk of the bar. You know, that's just what you're gonna, And I was like, bullshit. Like, I'm gonna try this, and it worked, and then it just kept working. So
I bet old Don Thompson had a freaking bar where she would talk too.
Yeah, probably.
Everybody in the bar was getting gas.
I mean, especially
For
in
a-
Lincoln, you know, I mean,
For a
Lincoln's
nominal fee, though, I mean,
right.
this lady apparently $500 for $700 worth of fuel. I mean, that is a good deal,
I mean, she's
but it's
also
wrong.
she's kind of business savvy if you really want to get down to it. Like she's double dipping here, you know, it's great.
If she didn't do that, though, if she just used it for herself, she probably wouldn't get in trouble for it.
That's fair.
And also, you're spending more to fight it than probably what she's being fined for it. Like, if you wanna go into court and say, "This is a glitch that I didn't have any control over, I
Yeah.
just used it," you're probably spending a lot more in fees and, lawyers and stuff like that to fight it.
7 months. 7 months is the reign of the gasoline terror. Okay, so let's figure this. 7 months.
So
Do
it's
you
$27,000, right?
for 7 months.
My
So
God.
So that was $27,000 worth of fuel?
$27,000 in 7 months.
That's $3,800 a month in fuel. Nobody is spending that on
Nobody's spending
themselves.
that.
Not even close. Not even
Chill.
Ching!
10%.
Just,
Maybe 10%.
just go ahead and put it on the card, sweetie. It's fine.
So here's the thing though, if there's that much money spent on fuel, okay,
Yeah.
how much do you think you spend a month in fuel? Because
Like,
it depends on if I'm driving my big old Chevy or if I'm driving my Scoot.
that's true. Because I mean,
But
I'm in a little Subaru. You know what I mean? I'm getting the better part of 30 to 40 miles per gallon. So I mean, I'm not spending a lot in gas. Like, really, not at all.
but that's what I'm saying. Like now, here's the other side of that. Not only was she doing this, but if she was getting that much gas and she was charging $500 for $700 worth of fuel, she was bankrolling.
Yeah.
Like, did she get a new car out of this?
Ooh, that'd be interesting.
You
to
know,
see.
like I bet there's so much information is going to come out. But you know what? It said it did say that her court hearing was April. We'll find out in
also
April.
wonder-
That's coming right up. Yeah. So
How did it take them so long to figure out that so much gas was
So-
leaving without being paid?
because Shane had mentioned in the article that it was actually the loss prevention guy, which more than likely is somebody not corporate, but
Yeah.
regional, like a regional type of manager that's probably just going over the numbers, fucking hates his life, and is just like, okay, blah, blah, blah. And then is like, wait a second.
Whoa.
Hey, wait a minute. But yeah,
So
and then freaking
That's exactly what he said.
Yeah, probably.
But the point
Exactly.
is, the owner of whoever's doing the books for the gas station is probably local, whether it's the owner or the manager. At $3,800 a month, if you average 380 a gallon,
Yeah.
that's 1,000 gallons that went out the door. You don't notice that the first month?
It's an inside show, Jason. Come on, man. It is an inside show. That dude died.
They
Bull crap. It was the manager of the gas station that showed her the
Wow.
double swipe.
took
Probably.
him out and took that
Yeah.
dude out. And yeah, you know that regional dude's on the payroll. Come on.
Yeah.
Double
Come on.
swipe. Have you ever double swiped your Hy-Vee
like,
rewards
"Hey."
card? No.
All
No.
you gotta do is double swipe it, sweetheart. He's
That's right. I'm double swiping all my fuel cards now.
Yeah, just double
You
swipe.
don't know what's going to happen. You don't know. You might get 27,000 gallons of free fuel.
Oh my gosh, man.
Ridiculous.
It's so much money because now fuel is literally looked at like it's gold. You're like,
Yeah.
if we would have had this conversation in 1995, would have been like,
Who
gas.
gives a shit?
Go get some Taco Bell or something.
You know, it's funny too, because I mean, shit, at that time, I mean, gas was like, I mean, really, honestly, what was it, 98 cents a gallon at
Yeah,
that
98
time?
cents a gallon.
And it barely moved.
Somewhere around
It
there.
barely fluctuated, like hardly at all. But yeah, just crazy.
That's in Thailand. You know, I love to ride scoots. I found out that in Thailand, fuel prices are close to $10 a gallon. That's why they have such
Wow.
small vehicles. Not just because Thailand is so small itself and so
Yeah.
tight and congested, but also because the fuel prices are so astronomical. Bro, you're not pulling your Suburban up,
No,
filling it up.
no.
You're not doing that. So
Wow.
crazy. $10.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's ridiculous, man. I mean, it'd take
And
Christ. How much money
And
would
that's
that?
my story of the week for fuel thieving. Dang it, Dawn. Dang it, Dawn. We're going to follow up with you in April because honestly, you're kind of a class act, kind of a hero, made yourself a villain, but we love you anyway because you're a Midwesterner and you did what Midwesterners do is you shared the wealth clearly.
That's true.
Hey, y'all, want some free gas? I do.
Well, thanks for coming on, Josh. I'm glad to have you back. You're welcome back on this show anytime, of course. So
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I think you need to continue to do your little dance too.
I like that too. Yeah. Make a fucking meme out of it or something, you know.
thanks for watching the first episode of the Strange Paranormal Podcast. Tell us what you think. You can email us at thestrangeparanormal@gmail.com. You can call us at 913-535-6322. You can find us on any social media site under Strange Paranormal or Strange Paranormal Pod. I'm in the process of consolidating any old Ectoplasm Show accounts with the Strange Paranormal accounts, and I'm choosing the ones that have more followings. So I will be posting to both for the time being, but if you follow Ectoplasm Show and it has less followers than Strange Paranormal, we'll eventually be moving to the other account. I'd like to thank Shaggy for providing the music for this intro and outro of this episode. You can find him at webhead.bandcamp.com. He's an old friend of the show. You can buy shirts. You can go to TeePublic and find Strange Paranormal gear. We have a Patreon. It is the Ectoplasm Show Patreon that we're moving over to Strange Paranormal. You can find all of this at strangeparanormal.com. Just go to strangeparanormal.com and you can find links to everywhere. If you're watching this on video, we are also putting this out as an audio podcast in all of the audio podcast feeds and apps that you listen to podcasts on. If you are an audio listener, we also have this on video on YouTube and several other video streaming platforms. So we're wherever you want to be. If you have a preferred place to watch or listen to shows, we will be there. And if we're not, let us know and we will make sure we get on there. Have any final parting words, Shane?
Buy our shirts. No, buy our shirts, man. Thanks a lot, everybody, for coming and taking a look at the video or listening to the audio. It means a lot to us. We are just getting into this. I'm personally just getting into this. Jason, he knows what he's doing. Look forward to seeing you guys in the next one or having you listen to us in our next episode.